because someone recognising me in a taverna by my voice.
Oh.
Yeah, they turned around and they said, "Are you Nicola?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am, as a matter of fact." And I said, "We recognised your voice because we've been watching your V-zine."
Ah.
And they were honestly two unlikely looking Brits who you'd never think would watch the V-zine. They started off reading the Swagger and Soul blog that Sarah and I started. And of course, there was audio on that. And then they swapped to watching the V-zine when we sort of largely stopped blogging.
Well, wouldn't they recognise you if they're watching the V-zine?
Well, apparently I don't really look like I do in the V-zine. I didn't that day. To be fair, I had a big floppy hat on, sunglasses and a caftan. So I didn't look much.
So you couldn't be seen underneath there.
I wasn't wearing black. Welcome to Own It, Your Business in Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Hello.
Morning, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Right, let's get started, shall we?
Go for it.
I'm all very discombobulated. Hang on.
Yes, well, you should be, and I think we should explain to the listener that we're doing this on a Monday, because both of us were offline for at least half of last week.
I know, it was really... You were offline for a few days, then I was offline for a few days.
I know, it was bizarre, wasn't it?
It was bizarre, especially considering, you know, that we're both in places that should be working.
Well, absolutely right. No internet, no work, no clients, no group calls, no podcasts, no TV, no webinars, no nothing. It's like living in dark ages.
I know, the no TV bit's the worst, isn't it?
Well, it's challenging, isn't it? You're thrown back onto the Kindle or the book.
Yeah, but there's only so much reading one person can do in a day. I
agree with you. I think there is only so much reading that one can do. But even so, it's still what I call the Jane Austen skills, isn't it? It's going for a little walk.
Yeah, doing a bit of needlework.
Yes, reading a book.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. I wrote some short stories.
Yes, well, very good. I think it was my advice, wasn't it? Can't you do some of your creative writing?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you can. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I did. I knocked out a couple of short stories. 1,700 words, one of them.
And also, you're liking your creative writing so much that we're taking a radical step after 130-something episodes of moving the recording from Wednesday to Thursday.
Yeah, I know. I'd rather carry on doing it on a Wednesday, but it's just too difficult because Right Club have moved to the morning, so it just can't be done, really.
It can't be done because I have every other one, not necessarily the same one as yours either. I have my group, so I can't go earlier.
Getting even more confusing now. I've got Cribbage Club on Mondays. That's every other week as well, but it's a different week to Right Club.
Yeah, so. I know. You've got to keep your wits about you, haven't you?
I know.
maybe that's part of the point. You know, we've taken on these sort of middle-aged, middle hobbies. Yeah, and the whole point of it is to remember which week you're on.
I know, really, every other week. What's that all about?
Well, mine is more complicated than that. It's every other week. But not if a month goes to 31 days.
Oh, you're joking.
It's my choice. It's because I do 10 group calls in a month. And as I explain to everybody all of the time, if there were just 4 weeks in a month, i.e. 28 days, it would just repeat. But because there are 31 days, it doesn't repeat. And because the 31 days never fall on the same day, it doesn't repeat at all. So every now and again, because of the accumulation of 31 months, I get a week off, which is what I'm having next week. And then we start all over again. So that's why it wouldn't even work with us, me switching that group to the alternate week that you go to Right Club, is because mine isn't even every other week. It's twice a month.
Oh my God.
I know. So
you can't use your your calendar pre-scheduling thing properly?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Don't your clients get a bit confused when there's occasionally a week with no calls? No,
because they're fully informed at all times. And also they get invitations to email, and I broadcast in advance where the calls are, and I explain to them. But for instance, the routine is always the same. It's, are we in on a Tuesday, Thursday week, or a Monday, Wednesday, Friday? So it's Monday today, there's a call today. So we know we're in the Monday, Wednesday, Friday week. Easy. And,
I couldn't even follow it when you were saying it.
well, yeah, but you don't follow other people's instructions well. You issue them, but you don't follow other people's instructions
I don't really follow even my own
No,
instructions very
exactly. No, well, that's true. You don't follow your own instructions. But anyway, there we go. So now tell the listeners your big news.
My what?
Your big news.
Oh, I'm back in Greece?
Yes.
Is that the one? News. Well, it just came to me, right? I went to Sunderland back and I had a wonderful, wonderful time. So it's not about that. It was about the fact that it cost me 153 quid to go to Sunderland and took me about 7 hours or so. And especially longer when on the way back, because I forgot to get off the train when it divided at Haywards Heath and ended up going to Eastbourne. I was watching Matt Duggan do a Facebook Live on Facebook. And I just completely didn't work out if I was in the right bit of the train. Anyway, that's Matt Duggan's fault. So, yeah, and I suddenly decided this is crazy. I sort of, one of those mind shifts. And I thought, why am I not going back to Greece for a few weeks where there's an empty house and I'll be in the sunshine and with all my chums? Why am I sitting in Shoreham or, feeling miserable in the rain and a bit lonely and looking over the beach at where Steve used to live and just generally getting myself into a funk? Where it's like there was some psychological barrier to packing everything into my suitcase and getting on a plane again. But I thought we'd do this for a week to go on holiday. Why am I not doing it for 4 to 5 weeks to go back to the place where I want to be? It was crazy.
I agree.
Yeah. So I looked up, I texted Yvonne, whose house it is at the moment, and I looked up a flight and I just was gone by the next day. Yeah. Unfortunately, that meant that I did miss the Acumen Business Convention in Brighton, which I was looking forward to going to, and where Phoebe was shadowing Penina Shepherd for the day. But she did me proud, apparently, so I don't need to worry about Phoebe going to things on her own anymore.
The Acumen Business what?
It was there's a brilliant lawyer in Brighton called Penina Shepherd who is absolutely the epitome of how to market a legal business sexily. And she's got an award-winning legal firm that largely covers media, entertainment, intellectual property, business law. They just specialise in business law. And they have a big convention every year at the Grand Hotel. You start off with lunch and then there's 4 different tracks you can go down to different presentations and things. And it's just a big deal in Brighton. I would have met a lot of very cool Brighton people, business people. Okay. But I had to get on the plane instead. But thank God for Jamie Oliver, because there is a 5-hour wait when you get to the airport at 11 o'clock at night. And you can't check in till 3:35. But there were two things. There were two things that were really nice. One was Jamie Oliver's coffee shop, which made it all a lot more bearable. And the second thing was they've got a thing called Twilight Check-in. So if you get there before 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and you're going on a flight the next day, you can actually check your bags in early, which I thought was very civilised.
And is Jamie's coffee shop open all night long?
It is. All night long, Judith. So I sat there thanking Jamie Oliver because it's got comfy seats as well, which is rather nice.
I've got another friend spending 4 hours in an airport today, and I think she said, I'll be all right in the lounge with a book.
Yeah. The other thing is there's a thing called Yotel, and there's another thing called The Block. And apparently you can rent rooms. Phoebe did it on her way back from Bali. You can rent rooms for a minimum of 4 hours.
Yeah, I suggested that, funnily enough, and she said, no, I'll be all right in the lounge with a book. I'd rather have a lie down in a shower.
Well, I'd rather have a lie down at night, definitely not in the daytime necessarily. But
I would. Any time of the 24-hour clock, if there's a bed, I'd rather be in it.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be very good, so I will be checking out The Block next time. But so that was that really. What else has happened? No, that's it. Oh, the Kalamata airport thing was absolutely hilarious because nobody was expecting me back yet. But it's a bit like the school bus. All the expats are ferrying backwards and forwards between Kalamata and Gatwick, and they're all greeting each other on the plane and at the airport. And I got spotted at the airport, and someone shouted across the airport, "Nicola, what are you doing back so soon? It's Right Club tomorrow. See you at 11:30." So it was really like the school bus. It was hilarious. So what's fueled your fire then?
Well, not related to my work at all, but it was my brother's 60th birthday party in the middle of all of this, which was why the first day of being offline didn't bother me, because I'd planned to be off anyway, because I didn't get home until 6 o'clock in the morning. And
Stop
I had a lovely time. I met lots of people I've known all my life. My brother's oldest and second oldest friends. My brother had a little podium, a bit like you have on the Formula One or the what do they call it, Olympics, where you have, number one, the gold medal winner, number two and number three. They did it in reverse order, the person that's known me the longest in the room, number three, was Johnny, who I've known since my brother was, 10. And second was Will, who I've known since my brother was 8. And number one, of course, was me. And, of course, both of these boys. The number two is a very competitive man in the television industry. And he said, Judith, let's go for a walk around the garden. I want to bump you off so I can be at number one on the podium. Quite funny. But anyway, all of these chaps, because of my brother's work, all of these chaps are high-achieving, bankers and CEOs and things like that. And I haven't seen quite a lot of them for quite a long time, at least 12 years, maybe longer. And, as each 60-year-old man came around the corner, he had white hair. Whereas last time I saw him, he had, black hair. And 50% of them had a new wife and things like that. But they were still the lovely, high-achieving, interesting, charming, handsome men in dinner suits that I've known for 40 or 50 years. I had a really nice time. It was a nice-sized party, 50-odd people, sort of everybody that I knew. And, of course, they were all people who work in a completely different world to me. So they know nothing about being self-employed. And they were all quite interested in being self-employed, actually. They wanted to know who are my clients and what are their issues and what to talk to them about. And if I coach one of them, who coaches me. And quite a lot of them were people I hadn't seen since, I had to say, I'm sorry to hear that your mother's died or your father's died or something like that. And there was one chap who I sat next to, I'd known maybe not so long as the others, but he had, since I saw him last, his own father died and discovered his adopted who his birth parents were. And he showed me the letter that his birth mother had sent him when she received a letter from him that she'd waited for 60 years. And that she signed off this letter, sending you a lifetime of love. Well, I had to be dissolved into a bucket of tears on the spot, And so there was a lot of sort of high emotion, because that's what goes on in people's lives. Not every day, but, when you don't see people for a decade or more, big changes happen in people's lives, and they change as well by what's happened to them and so forth. So I just had a lovely time, really. And that sort of, getting out of the house, meeting people I've loved for decades, who've loved me for 30 to 50 years, getting home at 6 o'clock in the morning, it was just great. I loved it.
6 o'clock in the morning? What? I mean, was there dancing?
There was dancing, but I didn't dance. There was an after party. The party was at my brother's golf club in Wimbledon Village, and we all had to go home at 1:30. So we went to the after party. Who was in actually the chap who was third on the podium, Johnny, who I've known, and was my mother's second son. We were so close. We went to their house, which was just around the corner, and we all stayed there until 4:30. And then by the time I dropped my brother, his wife, and my nephew home, which was en route to where I was going to stay the night, although it wasn't really night. It was daylight and Sunday basically.
It's very strange, isn't it? At our age.
Well, it was strange because I was staying with a friend, and when I got there, she was up for Sunday before I'd been to bed for Saturday. And she called me a dirty stop-out, which was fair enough. Although I did warn her that I would be late, but I didn't know it'd be 6. That's a personal best, I think.
Yeah, personal best.
Yeah, Irene wrote to me to say 6. Oh, God, I would have knocked me out for several days. Well, I had planned to be off for that, sleeping for that Sunday and then off for the Monday. But then the internet gave me a couple more days on top of that. So
yeah,
there we go. Anyway, so that was it really. So the meeting lovely, interesting, widely travelled people who I love.
Okay, so what fueled my fire this week is having plenty of time. I've just had loads of time because I'm on my own and I'm learning how to be on my own without feeling lonely, which is nice. And I'm going out and I'm doing things and I'm having walks and I'm doing, going to the supermarket and going to sit outside the taverna. I met a really interesting person the other day, a German graphic designer called Adrienne. She just happened to be sitting on the next table to me. And but the thing that really fueled my fire this week is someone recognising me in a taverna by my voice.
Oh.
Yeah, they turned around and they said, "Are you Nicola?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am, as a matter of fact." And I said, "We recognised your voice because we've been watching your V-zine."
Ah.
And they were honestly two unlikely looking Brits who you'd never think would watch the V-zine. They started off reading the Swagger and Soul blog that Sarah and I started. And of course, there was audio on that. And then they swapped to watching the V-zine when we sort of largely stopped blogging.
Well, wouldn't they recognise you if they're watching the V-zine?
Well, apparently I don't really look like I do in the V-zine. I didn't that day. To be fair, I had a big floppy hat on, sunglasses and a caftan. So I didn't look much.
So you couldn't be seen underneath there.
I wasn't wearing black. Dang, dang, dang. So no, and then we had a really nice chat, and they were absolutely fascinated. I keep bumping into them now, and they're absolutely fascinated by the idea of living out here. And in fact, funnily enough, I was sitting talking to Dave from Manchester, who also lives out here with his partner Katrina, and they were in a similar situation to me. You know, Dave lost his mum, and so they just decided to go for it. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but anyway, point is, they're out here, they're renting. They've moved house a couple of times because the first one wasn't suitable. But you know, I was sitting chatting to him, and then these couple came over, and they were so fascinated by the idea that you didn't have to sell your house in England and buy a house in Greece or build a house in Greece, that you could just rent your house out in England and come over here, or even not rent your house out and come over here and rent here because it's, you know, very affordable. So it was really interesting that people who aren't interested in watching the V-zine for business purposes, because these people are, you know, nearly retired and have jobs, that people like that are watching it and listening to it just because they're interested in the location, I think.
Yes, and living beyond the laptop.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that obviously is having so much time on my hands, as you suggested, get your creative writing head on. I've just started writing short stories because the novel is feeling a bit daunting at the moment, as I said to the girls. So, and they said, well, you know, just get wet your whistle with short stories. And they told the story of how one of them had actually won a competition and won £500 for a short story. And
very good.
Apparently not many people enter these competitions. So if you've got half a decent writing style, you've got half a decent chance of winning quite a bit of money.
Oh, that's good. And actually, I think the art of the short story is not to be underestimated.
No, absolutely. We do a bit of free writing every time, which is where somebody throws a dice that's got pictures on, and you pick up a dice and you choose one of the sides of the dice, and you write for 5 or 10 minutes just on the picture that comes up on your dice, and that's quite a good stimulation.
Yeah,
there are other writing tools. Apparently there are things online where you can, you know, you finish a sentence and just let your imagination go and things like that. Would you like to showcase your business, product or service to between 400 to 600 highly engaged solopreneurs and business owners every week? We can offer a 30-second mid-roll slot and sponsorship branding on our website and in our private Facebook group. Just contact Nicola and nicolacairncross.com for more details. Okay, we got a choice of client charms of the week.
Okay.
The first one was this scamper technique, which is when, if you're stuck trying to make a decision, you could run through the scamper technique. And the other one...
I've never heard of scamper. Is it a mnemonic?
Yes, it's a mnemonic. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's about how to get creative and creatively brainstorm in a structured way, which, you know, which is supposed to be very good if you're... a bit stuck.
All right.
And the other thing is discussing my endless problem of how to choose who I'm going to aim my business at, which is just an ongoing issue for me.
And I imagine, which one do you want to talk about then?
Which one appeals to you more?
You.
Oh, okay. It always makes me sound like such a wimp, though, doesn't it? Me getting coached.
No, nobody thinks that except you.
Okay.
You've always had that thing that when you're being coached, somehow you're a moaner or a wimp or something negative. You're not.
Well, that's an issue in itself, isn't it?
Yes, we'll gloss smoothly over that one.
Okay, all right. So, okay, well, here's the challenge of the week then. It's me again, Judith. So,
well, no, it's not you. It's an element of your work. Isn't that what you're saying?
Yes, it is. Yes. Yeah, good distinction, actually, because it makes, as you know, getting help makes me feel like a wimp, but it's not a personal thing. It's just an element of the work. Yeah, exactly. Why do I take everything so personally? Because I'm a narcissist. That's why. So
tell us the element of the work. Describe the problem.
Okay, and I'm sure it is one that other people feel as well.
I agree.
I just cannot decide who to aim my business at. I want to do more consultancy. In fact, I've got a consultancy day booked or two when I come back from Greece. I want to aim my Be Everywhere online course at the people who would get the most out of it. I just can't make my mind up. There's just too many different kinds of people to aim for, and I can't make a decision. And I don't know how to make a decision. Do you know what I mean? That's why I was looking at
the sample. I'd like to look at that in a minute. First of all, I want to ask how you think it would help you if you knew.
Because I would be able to create content for those people. I would be able to aim at them with Facebook ads for my webinars. I would be able to write the front page of my website aimed at them.
It's a funny old thing, isn't it? Because you just gave us an example of exactly the opposite, where there are people enjoying your V-zine who it's not targeted at.
Yeah, but they're never going to buy anything off me, those people.
No, but the point is that there's overspill, whoever we aim it at. The best example is the Money Gym, where we thought we were aiming at women, but good 20% of our clients were men that didn't notice. You know what I'm saying? So what you're saying is that it is received wisdom 101 of marketing, that you must know who your customer avatar is.
Yeah, because you use their language. You know. I'll give you an example of why it's been thrown up again. Why I'm wrangling with this again. Because I went to stay with Irene, and she's very clear about who her clients are, and she can create a list of them. You know, they're managing directors and business owners who are of a certain size. They've got a certain number of employees. They aren't big enough to have HR departments. So she knows who they are. They're largely men, because in the construction industry, most men.
Well, I think the very fact that she works in the construction industry makes this thing for her much easier, because her niche is already different, whereas you'll never have that, because your appeal is much broader, isn't it? Yours is about the skills, not the industry.
Yeah, I mean, when I was thinking, and the thing is, you know, if you look at predictable revenue, if you look at this book I've just been reading, From Impossible to Inevitable, if you look at all perceived good business books, they say you have to be able to create a list of people to talk to about your business initially to find out what their problems and pains are. And you then have to be able to, you know, Irene's using Sales Navigator on LinkedIn, and she's able to create lists of people that she can contact on LinkedIn and start interacting with. And so in order to be able to do that myself, I have to decide who I'm going to aim at. I can't just scattergun market and wait for the attraction principle, which is what happened with Money Gym, to happen, because I'll be there, you know, I'll be talking to too broad an audience and not attracting any of them specifically. When I look back over the people that I've really enjoyed working with and have really got the best results for with the techniques I teach, it's specialist consultants. But the problem with specialist consultants is when you put consultant in on LinkedIn, you get something like 14,000 responses in the UK alone. So people don't identify themselves as specialist consultants. They just identify themselves as consultants or authors or speakers. And again, that's far too broad.
Could you tell me what is a specialist consultant? Can you give an example? Nobody that we know. Don't name names, but
I mean, I could name names. They're nothing. You know, it's like,
I don't really know what a specialist consultant is. I haven't got my head around who you.
Well, I had one client who specialised in cement. I had another client who specialised in fertility. I had a client who specialised in the overseeing of hydroponic wheatgrass manufacture.
Yeah,
I had, you know, so it's people who earn their living as a consultant, i.e. they schlep around the country and go and visit clients, and they're often paid by corporates, and they have to wait for their money. You know, it's all the consultancy things.
Yeah.
But they're specialists, so they're sought after, they're in demand. They're scared that if they stop working, they'll stop earning. They're generally speaking quite well paid, albeit 90 days after the invoicing thing. But I don't know how to get to them. And I'm wondering if I should even be aiming at them. Should I not be going after people in corporates who, aren't big enough to have a marketing department yet? So I just go round and round in circles thinking of all the people that I could help most with my internet marketing knowledge and skills. And then I end up doing nothing.
Let me ask this. Cement Fertility Wheatgrass, did they find you from your generalist stuff you were putting out, or what?
Yes, they did. They had certain issues, i.e. they wanted to turn their knowledge into digital products.
It doesn't, apart from the LinkedIn shoot, it doesn't sound like a problem.
Well, there's not enough of them coming.
No,
now.
That's right, because actually they're quite rare.
Yes, they are rare. And I just wonder if I'm not painting myself into a corner instead of, because I belong to certain marketing forums where people talk about their clients, and there are people out there making a fortune from consulting to solicitors, lawyers, doctors, dentists, all those sort of people. And I just think to myself, should I be aiming at, I don't know, Fortune 2000 companies that are growing for, marketing managers? I don't know if I'm just painting myself into a corner and not.
I mean, the thing about the Cement Fertility Wheatgrass expert people is that you are an expert in what they were trying to become. The thing about the doctors, dentists, solicitors, and solicitor, you've never been an expert in what they are.
No, because they want it done for them.
Yeah, but also you've got no cred in their industries. Whereas the Cement Fertility Wheatgrass people are trying to become what you are, successfully self-employed.
That's well, they're trying to turn their knowledge into digital products so they don't have to schlep up and down the country delivering to clients.
But it's more successful self-employment, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see, so you're already an expert in that. You've been doing it forever. So for my money, if we could keep on the left-hand side of the divider, the right-hand side being anything corporate, I don't think you're going to like it. I don't think they're going to like you, actually, either, because you're too
informal.
Yeah, let's call it too informal. Yeah, the word on my tongue is wacky. Certain sorts of wacky is good. Corporate wacky is good. You're not even corporate wacky because you're too entrenched in, being an entrepreneur.
Yes, I suppose you're right.
So I don't think they're going to find any kind of match with you. Whereas I can see why the Cement Fertility Wheatgrass people do is because there's a problem that you can help them solve.
Even, you don't think I'd be any good even as a consultant to the corporates?
Not to corporates. I think you'll be a fine consultant, but not to corporates. Just don't know anything about it. You've got no cred. You've got no CV of any value to them.
Unless they were looking for creativity.
They've probably got plenty in their organisation of one sort or another. I think corporates buy in a very stuffy, slightly, and I'm generalising, but that Venn diagram we always do. You've got to have the cred. I don't think you've got it with corporates. Okay. But you've got it definitely with people who are already outside that. And maybe the Cement Fertility Wheatgrass people, well, certainly cement was in it once. I don't think fertility and wheatgrass were ever inside that matrix, but I can see why they find you is because you demonstrate what they want. Whereas there's a logic to the corporate thing which doesn't add up for my money because there's no cred. So I've never, for instance, tried to sell myself to, even when I lived there, to anybody in Canary Wharf. I'm just too alternative.
Yeah, good point.
And so are you.
Yeah, I'm even more alternative than you are.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. At least I was accountant for 20 years. I still wouldn't try and sell myself back to them because I'm too far out of them for them to be anything other than a sort of party fascination. Those men I was describing earlier, they don't want me in their businesses because I'm not right for that. They're fascinated by what I do, but only because it's so strange.
Yeah. The thing that makes me hesitate to go after the consultant, coach, expert, author market is that it's such a cliche, and everybody seems to be.
Well, that's why I wouldn't go after coaches or whatever the other one was, authors. I wouldn't. I think they're they are swamped and can't afford it. But taking expertise and using that in a better way.
So that's very difficult then, because authors self-declare themselves as such. I'm an author. I put author on my profiles. Coaches self-declare. Again, I don't put coach on my profile, but most of them do. And consultants are. You've then got to try and narrow down the field from consultants of all kinds to specialist consultants.
Well, I'm not sure that you have. I think if you eliminate the authors and the coaches, neither of whom can afford you anyway, by the way, and start talking to consultants with these sorts of people in mind in your content, i.e., leveraging their expertise.
Well, you say none of them can afford you, but they're all going to pay Bernadette, Doyle, and Shah Wussman quick enough.
Yeah, but those people have a different sort of appeal. You've pointed out a good thing here. You and Cement Man were a marriage made in heaven, weren't you? Because he had enough process in him to pick up what you were teaching him and adapt it to suit his business model.
Yes.
Now, he's not. How many people? You only want 100 clients a year, 50 clients a year, or something.
Yeah.
Oh, they're out there, Nicola. 50 cement.
Well, I know they are, but I need to know where they are so that I can go and find them.
Well, what if you were to stop thinking of it as a problem? What if you were thinking of every consultant with expertise?
Say that again?
Well, not to be exclusive, but to be inclusive. Every consultant with expertise is your potential client. And they will self-select by not choosing to pay or not believing in internet marketing or something like that.
Yeah, they often come to me after they're disillusioned with all the...
Well, there's the marketing point. Disillusioned with...
Yeah.
I think the thing is, you were saying that when I put consultant into the parameters in business, well, that just might mean it's a bigger job, not that it's impossible. They're there. They're out there. We know they're out there.
Yes.
And I think this is enough for you to start writing to them. Because actually, they found you from whatever you've been doing in the past, and they're very varied. You couldn't possibly niche it to cement, fertility, and wheatgrass. They found you.
No, exactly. The thing is, Judith, that I feel very just relying on inbound marketing, attraction marketing, which we always have done in the past. It makes me feel very vulnerable. And I don't like it. And
No. I'm not suggesting you do that for a minute. But I'm not suggesting you do that for a minute. I'm suggesting that this thing about there are too many of them makes it impossible. You've got to drill down into that a bit.
Okay. What do you mean?
Well, for instance, I think this whole concept of I must know who my ideal client is. It's something that we only really need at the beginning. Once you're off and running and you're confident about it, they'll find you. Now, if you can, I don't know anything about LinkedIn. I'm not even a member, so I don't even know what you're talking about where you put in consultant and it tells you there's 2,000. But I'd be looking at who are in those 2,000. Do they fall into any interesting generic groups that you know something about or are fascinated about or feel you have something to add to? They can't be in 2,000 different types of consulting.
It was 14,000, sorry. It
whatever, whatever. You've got to drill down into them. I don't know how to do that. I don't know LinkedIn. But, there's 14,000 people. Make it smaller.
I suppose I could go and look at the people that I've had the best results with and see who they follow on Facebook, what interests they have, which books they've read, which films they like, all the usual stuff. I'm just trying to find a way to be more specific about it rather than just trying to advertise broadly and see. Yeah. I think the thing is Irene's thing where she works in the building industry, construction industry, that is obvious, isn't it? So for instance, when I was an accountant for 20 years, I wasn't an accountant to people only in the construction industry, though I could have been if I wanted to. I was an accountant to small businesses. They found me, particularly people who wanted a woman.
it's the same now. I'm just coach small businesses. I'm not specific about the industry they're in. The one thing I did was to say about 3 or 4 years ago, I was more interested in helping people, or as well as I was interested in helping creative people, and that brought writers and artists into my world. And I'm delighted about that. But I think that you can narrow this just by saying what you've said today, which is the best results I think I've helped people achieve is where I've found a person who can have quite a wacky specialism and who consults to industries as far removed as cement, fertility and wheat crops. You know what I mean? And then it's for them to spot you. I think you've narrowed it by 50% already by saying either it's corporates without a marketing department or it's specialist consultants. Right, it's specialist consultants. How can I drill down into that now? Who do I know who's a consultant? Who do you know who's a consultant? Maybe there's a core message that you can start putting out about, helping consultants make money out of their expertise. You've done it before, schlepping all over the country. You put that message out before, I remember.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
So maybe it's just a question of sticking with that one for 18 months rather than panicking that one's not going to work.
Yes, I think it's because all this extra time on my hands means that I feel I should be doing something with it, constructive and positive. And it's a luxury to have a lot of time on your hands. So I don't want to waste it. And
I don't think time can be wasted. Are you overthinking in that downtime? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Or are you saying, so can you work and then stop and then have downtime and enjoy the luxury of it?
Not yet. I haven't formed that habit yet, but I'm working on it. Working on it.
So are you doing enough? Are you doing enough work to support yourself?
Yes.
Well, then chill.
Oh, it just feels lazy.
Get over it. It's not. It isn't. If you've done enough work to support yourself, it's not lazy. It's the luxury that Dave and Trina are enjoying.
Yeah, I know. It's a lifetime of workaholic.
Yes, it is. And if you've been a workaholic for 30 years, it takes more than 5 minutes to wind down from that. It does.
I'm doing my best by going to these hobby things.
Yes. And also, I think this thing about the people I've helped best have been these sorts of consultants. If you're not desperate, then if it takes you a little while to winkle them out to get an ideal client, it doesn't matter.
I just need to spend all my time thinking about how to find them.
Or some of your time.
Yeah.
Nothing needs to be quite so all or nothing all the time, does it?
Listen, I've got a brain that goes a million miles an hour.
I know that, but chill. Use an hour a day of your luxurious spare time finding out more about consultants and where they hang out together and what different sorts of consultants there are.
And what organisations they belong to.
Yes.
Like that, yes.
Yeah.
There must be professional associations that they all belong to or something.
I tell you what is interesting. I think specialist consultants are more LinkedIn than Facebook, aren't they?
Yes. Which is why I got sucked into this LinkedIn Sales Navigator thing.
Yeah.
But it's not working for me. But Irene's going to give me a lesson later on how to use it because I keep.
But isn't LinkedIn bringing in paid advertising as well, like Facebook?
Yeah, it's actually much better than it used to be by the looks of it.
Yeah, it is, I think. Anyway, there you go. So how can LinkedIn help me reach some specialist consultants?
Yes, all right. Thank you very much. The word of sensibleness.
No need to go hell for leather, okay? An hour a day, it would be plenty. It would be 5 hours a week, it would be 20 hours in a month, would be loads.
I think that's what I've got to do. You put your finger on it. I'm overthinking everything because I've got so much time on my hands.
Yeah.
I need to fill that time with other things, whether that's reading novels or...
Well, it doesn't need to be filled, remember. It can just be partially filled. You don't need to fill every waking moment. Some can just be lovely...
I did watch a film yesterday afternoon. I felt very guilty, but it was a Sunday.
It was a Sunday. Why would you feel guilty about watching a film on a Sunday? That's what everybody does on weekends.
Oh my God! Right, that's my psychotherapy session finished for the day.
Yeah. Go for it.
Much.
Right.
A bit more exciting than the alternative, I think, perhaps.
Give me your word of the week then.
Oh, you're going to love this one.
Yes, good. I'm excited.
So thrilled when I heard it. I thought, oh my God, that's so good. It's fictive.
Pardon?
I can't spell it for you. FICTIBE. and it's a fictive dream.
Right.
Right. So, you know, when you are reading something and you get so caught up in it, you're in this trance-like state and you're imagining you're there.
Yes.
That's the fictive dream.
Oh, when you don't want the book to end.
Yes. And when you...
So is it about dreams, fictive?
Sorry?
Is it about dreams?
No, it's the actual state that you get into when you read a book.
Yeah.
And you know when you're jolted out of it and you feel all disorientated because you're more in the... you're in the fictive dream.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good one.
I know. Nice.
Love it.
What's yours?
Mine is offline because we both were last week, and it meant a bit like you've just been saying towards the tail end of challenge of the week. I was able to consider life in different ways and remember how many people are not like us. They're not addicted to and reliant upon tech. There are perfectly normal people out there who never go near their computer.
Yes, I know.
We're the weirdos.
I know. But increasing number of weirdos are becoming more like us.
I'm not sure it's something to encourage, honestly. I think once I don't think you'll ever break the habit because you wouldn't want to, but I think I might want to break the habit one day of being more offline. I don't think sitting at our desks at our computers and hunched over your iPhone is good for any of us. I think we need a balance.
Yeah, I agree.
I actually don't like the word balance very much because I'm a bit all or nothing myself, but we do too much of it, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, project update's going to be a quick one because not being online for most of the week, I haven't really looked. So
shall we whiz on by?
Yeah.
Yeah.
unless you want me to look it up right
now. No. If there's anything, when you do eventually get around to looking, if there's anything remarkable, let me know.
I will do. Who or what's impressed you this week?
Well, I met a woman I think you would quite like, actually. My lucky winner of my monthly draw, where they get a free session with me, was a lady whose name I'm not going to reveal. I'm going to protect her anonymity. But she's younger than both of us at 55 and recently taken redundancy through choice. So there was no disappointment about that. It was kind of redundancy after 18 years in a particular industry. And she's bought a house in Corfu.
Oh my God, really?
I know. Isn't that exciting? I won a competition to go on a holiday in Corfu once when I was, in the 80s sometime. So I know Corfu a little bit. And she is an interesting woman because she hadn't worked out what she wanted to do next, but clearly was very useful in her chosen career. So offers of freelance consultancy work had come to her, not all of which she was fascinated about the prospect of doing, but she's going in July to spend 3 months in Corfu, and I said, and ongoing, ideally, how much time a year? Well, up to 6 months every year. And so the plan was, whenever she's in the UK for 6 months, to earn enough money. A bit like, if she can earn in 6 months in the UK enough money to have 6 months off in Corfu every year, that's her job done. And actually, I don't think it's going to be hard for her. So, way to go, that woman. And also what I really liked about her, that you would especially enjoy, is that she says she knows a lot of people who say things to her like, oh, you lucky thing, I'd love to do that. And they come out to Corfu on a holiday and they have a look around and blah, blah, blah. Well, once she made up the mind she was going to do it, she bought it in 7 days.
Yeah, that's brilliant, isn't it? And also,
isn't it?
Yeah, that is brilliant. And Corfu being the place where the Durrells is set, of course.
Indeed, it is. Yeah,
I love the Durrells.
Yeah.
So good. Who or what's impressed me is the idea of solving a problem. So I was watching, when the internet was off, what I do get is BBC News Live globally. And I don't know how that comes through anyway, but it does. And I was watching a thing accidentally about solar panel in India. They're aiming, they've got 10-acre solar panel parks out in the wilds of India, which are starting, supplying 1.5 million people with electricity per 10 acres. And they were saying, that they're investing heavily in more of these solar panel parks. But the biggest problem they have is the dust, because obviously it's quite, dry in the middle of India. And they have a big problem with dust on the solar panels, because if the solar panels get dusty, they don't absorb the sunlight. And so I'm quite interested in the whole solar panel thing, mainly because I've got one here that powers my hot water. And they were saying that people have invented this solution for this, which is a bunch of roller dusters that move up and down the solar panels on sort of little machinery things. I don't know what they're called, those little machinery things. But anyway, imagine you go to the car wash, and at the end of the car wash, you get those flappy things that go round.
Yep.
Right. Well, imagine those turned sideways, so they're horizontal, and they go up and down the solar panels without any water, just dusting off the dust from the solar panels.
Yeah.
I was so impressed that somebody had the idea to do that, and that that's probably the mechanic in me, isn't it, that loves that sort of thing. I was just impressed that there's a whole global industry springing up of making solar panel duster machinery.
You definitely see on Facebook, for me, that's my window on the world, even teenagers coming up with genius inventions to solve problems. Whether it's sucking up plastic in the oceans or, turning something into something that a homeless person can live in. I mean, brilliant inventors, aren't they?
Yeah. And I think Britain is a nation of inventors. And if you can come up with something that solves a real problem for people, I think you're on a much easier marketing wicket than you are trying to sell services to people who don't know they realise that they need.
Well, that's true. And also better for the economy in a way if it involves exports.
Oh, yes, so it does. Well, there you go then. So I'm off to look for some problems to solve of a more practical nature. I
see also that you're going to Cribbage and Lusaka Club.
I am going to Cribbage and Lusaka Club. I don't know how to play cribbage. I've been trying to cram it overnight.
It lasts a very specific 1 o'clock to 4:50.
Well, I'm not absolutely sure how long it goes on. I think it might go on for a bit longer, but
yeah. Because there's a little flash up the top of your screen, which is quite funny. But the thing that makes me laugh about whether it's Right Club or Cribbage and Lusaka Club is I know it's the end of your day, effectively, because you're going to go to the pub with them all afterwards to have a drink, and that's that.
Yeah, that's why there's a very tentative loose end time.
Yes. Well, enjoy cribbage and Lusaka. My Granny Morgan used to play cribbage. Up back peg is an expression I remember from cribbage, and I've no idea what it means.
I know what it means, because cribbage is the only game where the score is kept on with a pegboard rather than a paper and thingy. I found out that from Google last night.
There you go, Nicola. Up back peg to you, love.
I will.
Well, the first time somebody says that today, you're going to fall about laughing now, aren't you?
I am, yeah. I'll let you know how it goes at the next event.
All right. Now, normally I would say to you, see you next week, but actually I'm going to see you on Thursday, on New Day.
Thursday, indeed. Yeah. It's in the diary. Speak to you later.
Yeah. Bye. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.